Hey everybody, welcome back to Yays and Booze for this episode of Raw. This episode of Raw being very much a filler episode. Not much happened, but it was fine. There were way worse. There were way better, but there's also been way worse. We're gonna go over your Yays and Booze today. If you don't know what Yays and Booze is, basically, I asked you for your hot takes about this episode of Raw and just WWE in general right now. I go over them. I give them a yay or boo. It means I agree or I disagree. That's it. Before we get started, please make sure you're leaving your likes, comments, subscribe, hit the hype button if you're on mobile. Check out my Patreon for match watch longs. We're having a ton of fun over there. All right, with that said, let's get started. First one, Maxine doing a, quote, step back to go train and get better before really going for the title is wonderful future world champion. I think she's going to come back and go after the IC champion, but future Intercontinental champion right now, let's beggars can't be choosers. Let's just get this first step and get this IC belt before we even look at that world title. I don't know what we're doing looking at that world title with Maxine yet. And hey, I'd love it. Screw it. Put the world title on her. But I'd imagine this is the IC title, but this is getting a yay. I really do enjoy the, I guess, logic here where maybe in kayfabe and not kayfabe wise, Maxine might not be ready for a title and to carry a division, right? Speaking in ring work wise. But I really do like the story of her earning that title shot, and she's like, I don't want to waste it. I might never get an opportunity like this. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's amazing. I'm here. I've improved so much already, but I don't want to squander this opportunity and go in ill prepared. So I'm gonna get better, and then basically cash in my opportunity at a later date once I'm better and healthy. And because she did everything in a proper way, Adam Pearce is like, all right, I respect that. You go do you. We'll circle back. You let me know when you're ready. You'll be in a title match. You earned it. Number one contender. Bang. Imminent number one contender, which I like. Now this whole time, like, Maxine might be kind of lurking. Maybe to your point, maybe Becky does win a world title, and then Maxine's lurking. She's like, screw the IC title. I'm coming for Becky's world title. I don't see that happening. I'm just kind of joshing with you, but, you know. And what I imagine the reality of this is I like and appreciate the writing of they definitely don't want to go the direction of Maxine, one, beating Becky, and or two, getting the IC title right now. But what's been happening on screen is that Maxine's been winning and getting over with the crowd and whatever. So as much as I want to see Maxine get that title now and finish her story right now, I appreciate the writing for at least taking that next step of just like, hey, like this isn't the direction we're going now. Obviously AJ Lee's going to come back and feud with Becky, but let's write something logical. Have Maxine, who's in actuality and in character is still not green, but has some training to go. So you send her off to train. She was also like, I'm gonna make a call. Natty, a little dungeon Maxine, huh? That's what I'm thinking. A little heart dungeon. But yeah, all that to say, I appreciate the writing for not just like ignoring her and like sweeping it on the rug. Like that's not the direction we want to go. So we're just gonna where instead they write themselves out of it, and I can at least appreciate that effort. We need more Sheamus on a weekly basis. He consistently puts on bangers with anyone and everyone. Same goes for Finn and JD. To be honest, this is getting a yay. But Sheamus, dude, I don't even know if he's an unsung hero. He's a sung hero that's not sung loud enough for my liking, right? The guy is a veteran and he's still going at this rate and putting on bangers, even though he's not really in a world title or mid-card title picture. He was for a little bit, maybe getting that IC. He does deserve it. I hope he does end up getting that IC title for all is said and done. But the match with JD was great. And also JD is someone that never gets the credit he deserves. And every single time he shows out in a singles match, like, oh, JD sells his ass off. Oh, he takes crazy bumps. That massive like back body drop by Sheamus was ridiculous. And also throw Finn on there. Finn is always entertaining on TV. Finn, I believe, still is one of the best wrestlers in the world. We just need that spark again, whether it's from him or have him put in the situation or whatever. I think it's still there. I think that prime Finn is still there. Maybe he just gave some of his life force to JD. Maybe that's what's going on. But yeah, shout out Sheamus. I would love for them to maybe build him up as like this, he has weekly matches and people are like, oh no, I have to go against Sheamus again. He's this like big immovable mountain that people have to keep going against. Having banger matches, it's not squashes, and eventually maybe you can kind of have Sheamus put over that next guy, be it a Braun Breaker, be it Jacob Fatu, be it like another big strong guy coming up. But overall, point being, I am so happy to see Sheamus getting the accolades or recognition tradition more so, and putting on matches like this in 2025. Like, what a legend, dude. Genuinely, what a legend. That 2014 to 2015 era of women's wrestling at NXT is what got me back into wrestling after giving up on it for a while, and why I'm still watching. Around 10 years later. So for this episode to prominently feature Asuka, Bayley, Charlotte, and Alexa all killing it in their role was super cool. That part of the match where Charlotte and Bayley straight up started decking each other in particular made me feel super nostalgic, for their battles back in the day. Sure, yeah, this is a pretty cut and dry, simple yay. It has been very cool. I mean, at this point, it is so crazy. That's over 10 years ago, right? We are in what year? I almost said 2026. We're almost in 2026. We're in 2025. 2015 was 10 years ago. The women that were like up and coming in 2014, 2015, or even like at the top of NXT or coming into the main roster in 2015, still killing it. Let's talk about the four horsewomen in general, which I think, obviously, big shouts to also Asuka and Alexa, but even if you just look at the four horsewomen in Charlotte, Bayley, Becky, still killing it in prominent main event pictures and storylines in WWE. And then a Mercedes Moné killing it in a totally different retrospect. I don't think that's the word. Just a different way. Belt collector Moné is killing it. She's doing a lot for AEW in the women's division over there. So like collectively, dude, like being on top and this I don't know, relevant for nearly over 10 years is so crazy. And then you look at Asuka. I really like the promo package that was a little like, hey, shut up Goldberg with this Asuka package, because she is a heel but still getting this like she's been the best in the world. Happy 10 years to Asuka. She's been in the company for 10 years. That's crazy. Someone in the chat the other night was like, "Oh, Asuka is probably one of at least top 5 of WWE's best and well worth it signings in the past 10 or 15 years, and I fully agree with that." Then Alexa, the character work and the different iterations. I mean, all the credit in the world for giving Charlotte a I don't know, second, third, fourth wind here with the crowd. Getting a crowd to like cheer for a pushed Charlotte face, who just the crowd is just not gonna be into a face Charlotte, and the crowd is so just like Charlotte wins, LOL, we're sick of this. But what Alexa has done with Charlotte it needs to be studied and replicated. The Performance Center needs to study tape on Alexa Bliss's character work, and that's not to take away anything from in ring. She's also one of the best. So yeah, I'm all for just like praising this crop of women, and honestly just the women's division in general in WWE, because you still have these who are now veterans at this point, which is so crazy. Time comes for us all, but it's crazy that these women are now like the veterans of the sport, and the new generation, the up and coming generation, maybe the generation that's also still with like a Charlotte in them, is like the Rheas, the Eos, who are really killing it, the Roxannes. Then you have a whole new generation with like the Sol Rukas, the Jordan Graces, the Kalani Jordans, the Jada Parkers, everyone in NXT. Like they're going so crazy. Stephanie Vaquer, like oh my god, Julia. I'm always down to give the flowers for the women's division, whatever era, because they're all still killing it. Great to see. And Nikki Bella, I think had a great showing against Roxanne. That rocked, no pun intended. Moving on. Finn Balor putting JD's leg on the ropes was incredibly smooth. Hopefully it sets up Finn versus Sheamus next week. Definitely gonna be a banger. JD looked great tonight too. Fully agree. Kind of already talked about this, but I'm giving this a yay. Finn Balor, as much as I don't love, like this was a fine interference. At least this was like it wasn't like a DQ. It was just JD ended up getting the big win, right? I think JD won. I forget. I stayed up till like 2 a.m. watching, and this hat is not a cosign, believe it or not, but I stayed up like 2 a.m. watching the Dodgers in 18 innings. I tapped out the 15th inning. It was 2 a.m. It was like the end of the 15th inning. Are you crazy? Anyway, so my mind's not fully awake, but JD looked great. I think Finn and Sheamus will rock. Kind of like I said in the other one. Come on, Finn. Let's go crazy. Have a low-key TV classic with Sheamus. You both have it in you. I think you can do it. And then also I did appreciate kind of what the point of this is sure, it wasn't like, it was still interference, but it was like fine heel interference that just extended the match. It wasn't like a DQ or like anything like that. Unless I'm forgetting something, like I said, 2 a.m. Unless I'm forgetting. Oh, I did try to use the shillelagh, which I almost called him Finley. Finn Balor still has the shillelagh, so I'd imagine he goes into his match next week with Sheamus, has the shillelagh. Sheamus is maybe fighting for that shillelagh back. Give me that back, fella. But yeah, I like what's going on here. I'm curious to what's kind of bubble. I mean, wait a minute, not next week, because I'm pretty sure signed is the tag team rematch with Team AJ Lee. Well, okay. I hope we get, because I'm pretty sure that's next week. So I hope somewhere down the line, maybe Sheamus will get involved in that match. I don't really see that. Sorry, this one felt like a scramble of a response. I'm kind of just like piecing shit together as I'm talking. talking. I'll wrangle this one in. Finn Balor sliding in, hitting like a slide and a little 360 spin, putting the foot on the ropes. The first thing I thought of was like, oh, they practice paid off. They definitely like tried that in practice like 5 or 6 times, finally nailed it, and like, we're gonna do this on TV. That rocked Finn is incredibly smooth, and more praise to this JD Sheamus match. Hell yeah. So glad that the women's tag champs got the main event. Feels like it's been forever since we got something different there. There's a world where they just put Braun versus LA Knight there with generic Vision beatdown and babyface saved to end the show, blah, blah. Did a quick check. 4th women's Raw main event since Mania. Wow. Oh, since Mania? That seems criminal. That's crazy. You're telling me Io Sky and Rhea Ripley haven't main evented this shit more than, more than that? Stephanie Vaquer? What are we doing? I mean, the women's division in general is carrying the WWE right now, but that's not what this is about. Well, it kind of is. But finally, like you're saying, this is getting a yay. First of all, Charlotte and Alexa have been doing a great job as champions. I loved them going against the team of Bayley Lyra. We got a clean, decisive win with Charlotte and Alexa, which I think was really needed because neither of these teams are heel. It was just kind of like a face versus face. And sure, like Bayley would lean heel given her like character and if she like snapped or whatever. But ultimately, this was like face versus face, just a straight up you earned it number one contenders match. It ended clean. I was like, there's for sure gonna be interrupt. Like someone's gonna come in. I thought Kabuki Warriors were gonna come in mid-match. They didn't. Loved it. Clean win. Kabuki Warriors coming in, which again goes to my point that finally the women's tag division is beefy again. We got Charlotte and Alexa, Bayley and Lyra, and then Kairi and Asuka of the Kabuki Warriors. Like that's like, granted, it's only 3 teams. We should have more in the division to round it out, but like more than enough to have a current storyline and competitive division right now. You know what I mean? Maybe it leads to a 3-way tag team match. I would love that. I think that'd be sick. Sign me up for that at Survivor Series. I don't know. Put it on Raw. I don't care. Do something with it. Have another main event, but shout out all these women in this match. I was stoked. When that referee counted 3 and there was no like real interference period in this match, we got clean, just like end to a wrestling show. End to a wrestling match, huh? God forbid. God forbid we just have a straight up winner and loser without someone coming in a hoodie or an El Grande mask, like ruining shit, you know? And obviously, the point here is give the women more main events. Obviously. Puts butts in seats. Not a yay or a boo, just want to humbly brag that I saw Io for the first time live in Tokyo for Marigold Grand Destiny, and it was amazing. Already was a fan, but this got me on the Io Sky hype train. Welcome to the hype train. You might have surpassed me at this point. I haven't been to Tokyo to see her wrestle at Marigold. That rocks. I haven't checked out that match yet. I definitely plan to. For those that don't know, Io Sky versus, and apologies on pronunciation, Mayu Iwatani. I believe that's how you pronounce it, but I hear good things. The highlights I saw, they're going a million miles an hour. Io Sky hit like 3, I forget what it was. She hit like 3 German suplexes, I think, in a row. We're just like, big beefy Io. Yeah, it's something that I really want to check out, especially like, Mayu Iwatani's work right now, and a lot of the Joshi wrestlers that are big time in right now. And it's something that I've been getting along. This isn't supposed to be a plug, but on my Patreon, I've been checking out a bunch of just like old, first of all, old Japanese wrestling, Joshi history, and then like current stuff. Hate. The group Hate over there. Hate is sick, dude. I fuck with Hate. Pretty recently, I just watched I had to get the pronunciation right, Saya Kamatani. I watched one of her matches recently. I think it was a match like from earlier this year. Rock, dude. It's something that like I'm really starting to get more and more into is the Joshi wrestling stardom scene, right? That rocks. And I think this is gonna be Io versus Mayu. Sorry. I think it's gonna be a great introduction for a lot of people into that this stardom world. And that's for me included. I'm not trying to sound like I'm an expert. I'm definitely not. So like, but yeah, that rocks. This is getting a yay. And also, sorry, I kind of just went on a tangent about that. But to go to that match and see that in Tokyo, like that's so sick. Good for you. I'm jealous. It's why I picked this. I was like, oh, that's cool. I gotta at least give props to that. But yeah, all right, next one. I think the women's War Games match will be Io, Rhea, Maxine, Stephanie, and Nikki against Asuka, Kairi, Roxanne, Raquel, and Becky. Just mashing all the Raw feuds into it seems like the logical thing to do since the SmackDown Women's division is floundering like a fish out of water. I also haven't put that much thought into what any of the War Games matches are going to be. I mean, I know the leading one, maybe, or the leading theory for the men's is MFTs versus Wyatt Six. I don't know, I guess. But yeah, like I said, I haven't put much thought into it. I like this. I'll give this a yay. Again, Io, Rhea, Maxine, Stephanie, and Nikki versus Asuka, Kairi, Roxanne, Raquel, and Becky. Makes sense. Like, you're mashing all the stuff together. You're getting the Io, Rhea stuff with the Kabuki Warriors. You're also getting the Kabuki Warriors needing to be friends with like Raquel and Roxy. You have Becky, Maxine in there. You got Stephanie in there running shit. Yeah, for what it's worth, it'd be a fun match. I mean, I'm not going to get, this isn't really what this is about. I'm not going to get on my soapbox here about like, I don't know if we really need war games. Like no division, men or women, tag team, whatever. There's nothing right now that's suitable for a War Games match. Now, granted, we have a few more weeks left, and maybe there'll be a big blood feud that deserves a big War Games payoff. But and it's a War Games is such a fun match. It's watered down. We don't need it every single year. It needs to be one of those matches that every handful of years. I'm sure WWE loves to put it on. It's a big spectacle, and it's a big, like, you sell a lot of tickets when you put Survivor Series money, War Games. But I don't know. It just kind of feels like at this point. Like what's the? It's just we're just kind of doing it to do it, and there's no feud that needs it. Like, it was really fun when it was like the Bloodline was in it, and there were these big factions that made sense, and people going up against the Bloodline, and obviously the old NXT stuff, and those groups made way more sense, and there's already factions like the Undisputed Era put together that had 4 people, I see Asuka turning on Kairi Sane very soon. I hate that Kairi is stuck in the middle, and it really sucks she is being bossed around by her senpai. I like the old Kabuki Warriors, not this version right now, sadly. I'll tell you what, and I'll give this, well, first of all, I'm going to give this a boo, and I'll tell you why. It's not because of, I love this is like basically in kayfabe. I don't know if this is you in kayfabe or outside of kayfabe, but me reading this, I'm like, this is very kayfabe. You're looking at Kairi, you're like, oh, you shouldn't be bossed around. I hate this. I hate this iteration of Kabuki Warriors. I miss when they were nice, whatever. I love this. I love the way this reads. But the reason I'm giving this a boo, because I don't see Asuka turning on Kairi. Asuka's basically already turned on Kairi. Like, she's already being mean to her. She's already bossing her around. I guess you can go one step further and have Asuka like fully just like attack her and go solo and like screw you, Kairi. However, what I think is more likely, and I've been talking about this for weeks, is once we finally get that, like, Asuka goes to slap Kairi like grabs her hand or whatever, the pop of that Kairi turn, Kairi Sane finally sticking up for herself, that's the move. I think that's more likely to happen. That's going to get the big pop, big Asuka versus Kairi feud. Kairi's going to be the biggest baby face in the world. And then she goes on to face Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. We know how this story goes. But like I said, that's the only reason this is getting a boo. Other than that, like, I am fully with you. I love this story. I hate that Poor Kairi means so well, and she's trying her best to please Asuka and, like, going against these opponents. But, like, ultimately, it's just like she's not fully sold on the dark side. And I think we're gonna circle back with like maybe Io trying to pull Kairi out. So we kind of paused on this like Io and Rhea stuff, I think, to get the Kabuki Warriors in the tag team division, which I think is good. Feuds don't need to last all the time. You can have the Kabuki Warriors like basically winning that feud, move on, tag team stuff, and you circle it back. The history is always going to be there, so things don't need to drag on forever. Looking at you, Damian Priest and Aleister Black. All right, last one of the day here. I low-key miss when the Judgment Day would have in-ring promos. I feel like they need them again to feel dominant again. Ooh, I think this is a good point. I'm giving this a yay. They've really been just relegated to backstage promos, which, like, they're able to use props and do subtle things, like, give people different looks and whatever. I think that's, like, really helped, like, stories and whatever. But right now it feels like we're kind of on a pause at, like, there are always cracks on the Judgment Day, but we've really paused on, like, the Dom and Roxanne stuff. We're definitely a little cooled down on Dom and Finn stuff, and there's still, like, tension you see there. Raquel is still a little bit, like, side-eyeing people. Dom still, going to El Grande Americanos for help over Judgment Day, but as a faction, as a group to feel important, them not getting the live in front of the crowd. Granted, I'm sure these segments are live, but the live in front of the crowd, like, pressures on promos and just like talking your shit. And I think you can do the same sort of stuff and same sort of like this person's being sketchy to this person, whatever. You can do all that in ring. You'd have to make it maybe a little more obvious in terms of your actions. But I think it's doable. My guess is maybe they're wary of like Dom getting cheered, because before he'd get the mic and he would get booed out of the building. That was kind of the selling point of their in-ring promos, to get that big, like, we're not going to let Dom talk. Now, Dom is basically a face, right? At least according to the fans, Dom is a face. So Dom's going to get on the mic, place is going to cheer for him, and he leaned into that. I forget what it was. Was it during a AAA show? I forget what it was, but he leaned into something where he was like, the crowd was cheering him, and he was like, wow, I'm not I'm not used to that. Da-da-da. So maybe they're just like, oh, we want to keep Dom in his character. We don't want to make him seem like too much of a face, especially with his promos, and make it so obvious that like, oh, he's a face and we can't control he's a face, and that's not the direction we want to go. So maybe that's not why, or maybe that is why they're not putting them out there. Sorry, long-winded ramble, but I agree. In terms of just like making yourself like feel like a big presence, you know, whatever. But then again, this could start happening. Remember the days where like Judgment Day interrupted everything? So like, you know, I don't know. I'm not saying that we're being wishy-washy, but I do agree that maybe a promo outside of backstage, outside their little clubhouse, I think would not do them wonders, but would help them like a little bit. I don't think it's like going to be life-changing, but I agree. I do think it would be interesting and it would help them as a team. Folks, that's it for Yays and Boos. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, listening. Thank you for sending in your Yays and Boos. Before I let you go, please leave your likes, comments, subscribe, hit the hype button. Let me know some hot takes and some Yays and Boos that weren't mentioned or that you agree or disagree with from this episode in the comments. Check out my Patreon for weekly match watch-alongs. My music is on all platforms at Raspy Taylor. Follow me on everything, Instagram, whatever, in the description. Until next time, folks, I'll see you next time. Thank you again for being here, and bye, and bye, and bye.